Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Maui, Hawaii, the stolen islands from the indigenous population here by the United States of America. Today is August 24th, 2021. Today's talk, it's sharing Dystopia Incorporated. The 10 armies of Mara. Mara, the symbolic Sanskrit Pali word that speaks to the invenerating conditions, energies, states of mind, narratives, within consciousness, within context, within existence, within what the Buddha attributed to the samsara, this totality of interrelated conditions. And within it, there's a Dhamma or Dharma that can discern these conditions. And Mara, the face of evil, the face of denigration, the face of suffering. And it's a war, if you will, a raw heart war. Yes, there are times when we can bask and intimately play in the field of erotic tantrified intimacy, and other times we roll up our sleeves, not high enough to get jabbed, but we roll up our sleeves and we take on the fight, the good fight, the raw war. And I'm trying to today look at my understanding of the context, i.e. samsara, from a historical point of view, from the teachings as a son of the Buddha, teachings attributed to a gentleman many decades ago called Gautama, known as a bodhisattva, dedicated to the evolution of consciousness. I love that. The heightened excellence, if you will, of paramis, the beautification attributes of excellence within psyche and source and totality. Now, trying to draw historical references into modern day context, Dystopia Incorporated. Today is a complex day for all of us on planet Earth. It's complex, to state the obvious. It's getting more complex. Yet I really feel personally that not only is the war on, the heart war on, the wild, raw heart war, is it on? But we will win this particular battle. There's no doubt in my mind that enough of us are turned on to the sanctity of our soul, the blessed beauty of our radiance, the high fire of our breathtaking conviction in the betterment of the life that we live and the betterment of the life of the future of life. The more of us that stand in that hot lava of truth and are willing to be burned so that the Mara in us is dissolved and we rise up, take it higher. That's what this talk is about, taking it higher. Now, going way back to these teachings attributed to the Buddha, you know, many of you have been to Buddha Gaya in Bihar state in India, northern India, and there you'll see, we've seen therein lies a Bodhi tree, a temple, the temple attributed to the place where the young man Gautama, at some 35 years old, attributed to these ancient teachings, sat down under a tree. And it said that he stopped and faced himself fully. Stopped and faced himself fully. Now, of course, I'm drawing parallels to my own personal Dhamma understanding and trying to bring insight into something historical into present day context as an experiential Dhamma practice for myself and perhaps you as well. And so I've been to Buddha Gaya, I've seen this, and therein lies the Buddha to be is sitting beneath a tree after 6 or so years of ardent, let's enter the life of the Buddha as our own life. Not the Buddha as we are Buddhas, but just you personalize the Dhamma. That's what I want to do here. And I am embodied today, and I am sitting in this chair in this apartment in Makawao on the island of Maui, in the island chain known as Hawaii, and on planet Earth, in samsara, and I am choosing to call this my Bodhi tree. This is where I am saying, stop today, right now, and face the truth of your being in the most intimate, courageous, mindfully intelligent way possible. To reinvent passion, to take that passion into the radiance of insight and wisdom and release that wisdom into the luminosity of compassion, loving kindness, courage, and freedom. That we nurture the ecosystem of consciousness in context for the future of freedom and the future of life. And so I'm thinking about the Buddha to be. And it's said that he sat, and therein lies, in the first order of the night, encountered what's known as Mara. The embodiment, the energetic frequencies of convolution and entanglement and discordant states of inner and outer being, where one feels self-contempt, where one feels in doubt of one's own true nature, where one feels overcome by prejudice and righteousness and blame and indignation. One is cloaked in false or exaggerated characteristics that are not accurate to one's own being. One self-flagellates, one overemphasizes one's depth. These are known as the armies of Mara. Now, mind you, they're obviously symbolic, but they are discernible states of consciousness. That's the main point I want to make here. They're discernible states of consciousness that we always live in. And the narratives that move in and through these energies, these facets of Mara's being, so to speak, all of a sudden we find ourselves in the world that we are right now, entangled, interrelated, thinking, feeling, doubting, loving, fearing, hoping, justifying, removing, engaging, all the ways in which we create the physics of shared space with consciousness, with perception, with physicality, with oxygen, with hope, with fear, with doubt, and here we call it a life. And we're encountering the faces of Mara. Mara are the ways in which we suffer. And we create, through the identification with the facets and the faces and the energies of Mara, we create conflict for self, and equally we often create conflict for others. Okay, pause. The Buddha to be was said to be engulfed with the energies of Mara, wrapping her, his, its body, its tentacles, its web, its hope, its lust, all through the Buddha's consciousness, through my consciousness, through your consciousness. And these attributes of consciousness, these Mara facets, they come in twofold dimensions. There are the states themselves. Let me just go through them as I recall them in myself. Sense desire and seduction, one. Dissatisfaction, disgust, anger, judgment, blame, indignation, dissatisfaction, disgust, anger, judgment, blame, indignation, hunger and thirst, craving, greed, want, and need. 5, mind, sloth, torpor, fog. Mind, sloth, lazy, torpor, fog. 6, fear, cowering, and conformity. Doubt, hesitancy, and weakness. 8, conceit and righteousness. 9, gain, praise, and undeserved fame. 10, self-exaltation, disparaging others, putting them down, belittling, and in those cases, full-blown narcissism. The dimensions of Mara: sense, pleasure, seduction, dissatisfaction, disgust, anger, judgment, blame, indignation, craving, greed, want, and need, mind, sloth, torpor, and fog, fear and cowering and conformity, doubt, hesitancy, and weakness, conceit and righteousness, gain, praise, undeserved fame, and self-exaltation, and disparaging others, putting them down, belittling them in those rare cases, not so rare when we look around the world, narcissism. And these 10 faces of Mara, all of a sudden they entangle like webs within consciousness, and we find ourselves living, breathing, thinking, fearing, loving, doubting through the narratives, the stories of existence. What are some of those stories today? The pandemic, the fear, the propaganda, the misinformation, the Fauci's, Wuhan, the CCP virus, the bioweaponry, the collapse of the economy, extinction, X-rated, the apocalypse, dystopia, vaccinations, propaganda, the unvaxxed, the marginalizing of other, discrimination, apartheid, all the ways in which we read the headlines of our soul through the projection of the New York Times, the Washington Post, the BBC, the CNNs, the presidents, the fall of Afghanistan, the terror of those left behind, the incredible ineptitude of the American tyrannical, totalitarian, communist regime, thoughts, narrations, energies, patterns, ribbons, knots, mind convulsions, narratives, headlines, paragraphs, chapter titles. You get my point. There are the energies and there are the narrations and the stories woven through those energies. What are the 10 energies of Mara? Name your own. Sense, pleasure, and seduction. We become glued in, attached, grasping, greedy, dissatisfied, disgusted, anger, judgment, blame, indignation. When we're caught in those patterns, we usually polarize self and other, and we develop narrations and conditions of blame, and all of a sudden we're trying to unweave ourselves through these cognitive threads, these collages of dukkha, according to the Buddhist teachings of the First Noble Truth, collages and entanglements, webs, narrations of dukkha or suffering. And as long as we live in these papancha, hear me out, these papancha webs, papancha is what? The proliferation of Mara energies on the senses. We no longer, those of you who are yogis will know, we no longer just simply see up. I see you, Mara. I love you, Mara. I see you, Mara. I love you, Mara. I don't want to participate in self-flagellation. Mindful. Nope. I don't want to vilify Dr. Anthony Sociopathic Fauci, even satirically. other than through mindful wisdom, Mara. I'm not going to blame Xi Jinping. I'm just going to simply state the facts of a thought in my mind coupled with righteous indignation mindfully. No, Mara. I want to live more in the radiance of a luminous peace and love and a compassion. So the opposites of the 10 armies of Mara are the 10 angels of freedom. The 10 armies of Mara. War, raw. The meditation on peace and love. Raw, heart, wild, war. The 10 angels of a liberating love. And so as I move closer to the end of this talk, it's said historically in the teachings attributed to the Buddha encountered Mara and said, I see you as aspects of my own psyche, my own substratum. I no longer project them through the lenses of my eye or the ear to be external events. I see you, Mara, as internal creations, phantasms of my own psyche. I see you for the nature that you are, and with my mindful awareness, you evaporate more distinctly and quickly than a hologram without electricity and projection. You disappear the moment I become aware. Wisdom, the angel of wisdom, to challenge the hallucination of Mara's 10 armies of seduction that densify consciousness and create convulsions and entanglements. And when unrecognized, we go footstep after footstep into a collective madness known as a war or a massacre or genocide or crimes against humanity, like in the country of beloved Myanmar today, and the collapse of Afghanistan and the horror of what's going on there and around the world, and migrants and starvation. Mara, good and evil in our own consciousness. And the Buddha was said to have said in these teachings that I vanquished Mara as illusions within my own mind, but those illusions were so real that if they were identified with, they live through the senses, and I project them through the eye, the ear, the nose, the body, the tongue, and the mind door, and I live in the hallucination of making the outside real, and I deny the interiority of where the creation takes place. We look at the screen of consciousness and we see the projection, but we don't realize that we are the projector. We trace back the radiance and we see these narrations as creations within consciousness. The yogi knows that, the meditator knows that. This is symbolically what I read into where the Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be in India, 26 centuries ago, simply said, enough movement forward. Freedom is not found in the future. Oxygen is not found tomorrow. We breathe freedom naturally here and now. In-breath, out-breath. In this mindful awareness, Mara began to relax its primordial hold on the psyche of the Bodhisattva. It relaxing its primordial hold on the psyche of Alan Clements and on you. Personalize this meditation into your own heart and mind, because nothing is different 26 centuries ago is right now. 26 centuries into the future is right now. Samsara are conditions of discernible laws and principles. That's the beauty of the teachings attributed to the Buddha. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Let us take refuge in Buddha, not a man or a woman, but an awakening to the nature of freedom and Mara in war that's raw through the wild lens of a heart that's open, that wants to see and take responsibility for the creation of these phantasms. Why? Who knows why? But they exist. I see you, Mara, and I refuse to make you real. It's said that the Buddha to be vanquished Mara upon the first light at dawn. There's something symbolically beautiful about that. The first light of dawn. Always keeping dawn metaphorically on the high horizon of our hope. We are Christ. We are God. We are Mary and Jesus as one. We have Judas. We have liberation. We are the disciples of the Buddha, of Christ, of Allah, of infinity, of freedom. We are in this archetypal dance and war of understanding the nature of existence as brought forth through the environment of one's own mind. Take responsibility, Alan, for the creations of your existence as self-generated. The Buddha was said to have called off the future, sat, closed, stood, sat in dignity, faced Mara. I see you, and illuminated the phantasm with mindful intelligence. It's so rad. We have what it takes to liberate within innate consciousness. So super rad. We're warriors of non-violent compassion towards self and other. Super rad. We are holy by nature of birth, growing into the radiance of our Christ by the function of our Dharma. What is our Dharma? Understanding the lawfulness of liberation and the self-generated nature of suffering. And taking radical responsibility in the process of calling off the future, non-postponed beauty. Let me end here. The Buddha was said to have become enlightened, so to speak, at the first rays of dawn. So cool. The first rays of dawn. May I invite you to invite me to invite our friends in the midst of this samsaric, dystopian, incorporated, wild heart war that we're all in, with all the various narrations that are going on. Should I be roll up my sleeves but not high enough to be jabbed just quite yet? The data is proving to be very adverse in so many cases. I don't think I'm going to walk across the street today when 9 out of 100 get hit by an out of control Pfizer vaccine truck. I'm going to wait and chill and take the experimental nature out of this. And meanwhile, I'm going to just drink in the radiance of wisdom called natural sunlight, the D3 of freedom. I'm going to get into my yoga. I'm going to get into my walking. I'm going to get into my nakedness. I'm going to get into my bathing. I'm going to have a revolution of health in the conduit of freedom as I open my space to include fearlessness as my angel of freedom. Let me go through those 10 armies again and I'll conclude. Sense, pleasure, and seduction, dissatisfaction, disgust, anger, judgment, blame, and indignation, hunger and thirst. 4, craving, greed, want, and need. 5, mind, sloth, torpor, lazy fog. 6, fear, cowering, and conformity. 7, doubt, hesitancy, and weakness. 8, conceit and righteousness. 9, gain, praise, and undeserved fame, Mr. Biden. And 10, self-exaltation, disparaging others, putting them down, belittling them, and at times we've all faced the condition of narcissists. 10 faces of phantasms created within the psyche to make us small and thick and dense and frightened and afraid, even of our own love and beauty and tenderness and vulnerability. May I invite you to invite me. Fight back. Guard the senses from proliferation of negative narrations. Study narrations based upon themes and energies that are masquerading through the narratives to make them plausible. They're seductive, sense, pleasure, seduction. Fear and indignation cowering in the corner of should I and shouldn't I, turning our friends in, vaccination passes, mandates, all kinds of ways in which we play on the stage of a bad script. But we have the choice to change that script, choice, choice, choice. Always remember that living in a democracy is about choice, choice, choice. Having sovereignty over your body, young lady, choice, choice, choice. Mindfully infused wisdom, choice, choice. Every given second you can create your reality. Choice, choice, choice. Empower conscious, mindful choice to go to war with Mara all the time. Don't worship a Buddha that died. Worship the Buddha within, being born in you and in me. Radiate Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. I take refuge in what I'm saying, the integrity of my liberation from Mara into the radiance of freedom. Guard the six senses. My teachers would emphasize that so much. Mahasi Sayadaw, Sayadaw U Janaka, Sayadaw U Zawana, Sayadaw U Sujata, the late Venerable Sayadaw U Pandita. Guard your senses. Be vigilant there, courageous there, revolutionary there. Take care of Mara at the door. Don't let it escape and project it on others. Seeing, seeing, hearing, hearing. Thinking, thinking, judging, judging. Cowering, cowering, doubting, lusting, lusting. Hoping, fearing, doubting, thinking, thinking. Pain, projection, righteousness, indignation, undeserved fame, conceit, noticing, release, guard the senses. And lastly, create. May I encourage you to encourage me, to encourage our friends. We are the architects, we're the lovers, we're the actors, the producers, the directors of our own destinies. In this world of crazy conditions, we are mountain climbers, we are goats on the edge of our own Everest, and we're angels flying effortlessly through the sky. We're lovers of freedom. We're hymns made real on the altar of eternity. Drink and breathe in your beauty. Don't worship God. Be a goddess. Be in the process of a wise, intelligent creator. Rebirthing, always rebirthing, sculpting and shaping, theatrically, musically, aesthetically, calmly, and at night, in-breath, out-breath, I go to sleep in peace and in the sanctity of another day in this wild, crazy world of samsara. I took the Buddha's enlightenment 2,600 years ago and derived symbolically the greatest teachings I could from them in this very short 35 minutes today. To live and breathe, not in an oxygen that's already been breathed. I'm breathing fresh oxygen today, the fresh oxygen of the now. May I invite you to breathe in fully. That oxygen is pure, pure conscience, pure dignity, pure self-respect. Reinvigorate the conviction in your own beauty, your own power, your own love of the Dharma. Seize carpe diem, your truth, and refuse to participate in the narrations of misinformation and mind grab through who's right and who's wrong, and all the various ways in which Mara has continued to live and infiltrate, because Mara will never die until you and me and all minds in this great vast samsara empower the power of sati, mindful intelligence. I refuse to participate in your evil, Mara. Namaste. And release. Create, evolve, and release. Create, guard, evolve, and release. Create non-participation in your life, Mara. Guard non-participation. Release the beauty of releasing these primordial attachments on fear, on doubt, on hesitancy, on hunger and thirst and craving, in mind, sloth, fog, lazy, fear, cowering, undeserved fame, self-exaltation, seduction, anger, judgment, blame. Release, 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 release. Just like you got a rock in your food, don't keep chewing. Take it out. Drop it. And then, who do I want to be today? Who do I want to see? What will I say? What will I share? Making the last point. When I read into the Buddha's awakening under that Bodhi tree, and he's decided to sit and face himself with dignity, it's so cool. He said, I'm going to make this moment, this day, this hour, this second, you and me together in this great, vast craziness, I'm going to make it so incredibly important that it's my church, it's my cathedral, it's my prayer, it's my sermon, it's my hope, it's my birth, it's my freedom, it's my enlightenment. Play high stakes. Play high stakes. Mara's playing high stakes today. It's time to rise up, roll up our sleeves, but not high enough to be jabbed quite yet. It's time to rise up, and in the wild fury of your own raw war, I invest in my being to go to war with you, Mara. I am declaring war on you, Mara. Raw heart war. The power of love, the power of compassion, remembering our vulnerabilities, honoring our weaknesses, but time to go wild, time to go a bit crazy, as it's been said, in the wild frontier of our beauty and our freedom. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for being in my life, and refuse to participate in narrations of fear. Take it higher. Have a great day, and God willing, see you tomorrow. Thank you.